Alrighty, so I think the Mercury retrograde is starting to get a hold on me before it's even started, because that's usually how it works. Hopefully I'll be able to skim and read through this one a little better than the last one. So this one is explaining Islam in a nutshell. This is just going over the basic ideology, and it references quite a few different scriptures or quotes from the Quran. So this is also from the PDF pamphlets with the Counter Jihad Coalition.org, which is that nonprofit organization that's trying to help spread awareness of the authentic form of Islam and what it really represents, referencing its sociological institutions, its different kind of religious law, and referencing their holy scriptures in the Quran and Muhammad's biography. Alright, so Islam in a nutshell is the doctrine of Islam is made up of the Quran and what is that? How do you say that word, Boot? Sunni? S-U-N-N-A? Sunni, okay. The Sunni is the biography and traditions of Muhammad. Muhammad is the prophet of Islam. Some Muslims strive to pattern their life after Muhammad as a perfect person. The two parts of Islam are religion and politics, which politics is Sharia. They're different government laws or whatever. The two cannot be separated. In the U.S., we separate religion and politics. The U.S. does not have an official religion such as do Islamic countries. Religion is the smallest part of Islam. There is no multiculturalism in Islam. Islam puts all people into two categories, believers or non-believers. Non-believers are all non-Muslim people, also called Kafirs or infidels. Kafirs have no rights in Islam. Muhammad hated Kafirs and waged jihad on them till he died. Definitely sounds like Uranus and Aries. And the dhimmi is a non-believer and required to pay a jizya, a special tax levied on non-Muslims, and live as a second-class life. Muhammad is the supreme authority in Islam. Only 14% of Islam is Quran. 86% is Sunni Muhammad. If you know Muhammad, you know Islam. Islam makes Muslims. Muslims do not make Islam. What Muslims say about Islam is immaterial. Moral good and evil in Islam are not a matter of reason, but are based on Allah or their Prophet Muhammad. Reliance of the Traveler, section A 1.4. I'm assuming that's one of their pamphlet references. Islam does not have a golden rule. By the very concept of kafir, there can be no golden rule in Islam. And that's Surah 48:29. And just in case you're curious about the different references used for this, they used politicalislam.com, Bulletin of the Oppressed Women in Islam, which is the Bulletin of the Oppressed Women in Islam.com, the Middle East Media Research Institute, which is MEMRI.org, FamilySecurityMatters.org, JihadWatch.org, AmericanThinker.com, TheReligionOfPeace.com, and TheUnitedWest.com. Alrighty, and some more information on this. So, Muhammad started preaching in Mecca. For 13 years, he peacefully preached Islam as a religion. He was only able to convert about 10 people per year to Islam. This is when he turned into violence. For the next 10 years in Medina, he practiced violence and converting people to Islam. During this period, he was able to convert 10,000 people per year to Islam. In one conflict, he had 800 Jewish men beheaded since they were disloyal to him. He took the women as sex slaves and used the children as slaves or sold them. And that's Ishaq, I-S-H-A-Q, The Life of Muhammad, page 461. So is Islam peaceful? Yes. Is Islam violent? Yes, it is both. This is what is known as the duality in Islam, Meccan versus Median. When Muslims are in a minority of a host country, they are peaceful. When Muslims start growing larger in numbers, their peaceful means start to give way to their violent methods. Right now in the U.S., we are seeing the peaceful and stealth jihad being done. Muhammad says it's okay for the Muslims to take a kafir as a friend in the early stages. Muhammad was a master of deceit it was known as taqiyya. Jihad is what is made Islam successful. 31% of Islamic text, Quran plus Sunni, is devoted to jihad. According to the Quran, Muhammad was the perfect example of Muslim conduct. Surah 33:21. Muslims are violent because Muhammad was. He averaged one jihad attack every 6 weeks. Jihad is to stop only when the kafir submits and there is a worldwide caliphate. Some Muslims do not have the stomach for violence, so they give money to Islamic charities. The Islamic charities in turn give it to the violent jihadists. Killing, robbing, enslaving, assassinating, torturing, deception, jihad were all performed by Muhammad and described in the Sunni. So it is not radical Islam. This is Islam. It is the political purpose of Islam to annihilate all other civilizations. Jihad is driven by the anti-Jewish, anti-Christian rhetoric of the Quran. The Median portion of the Quran is 11% anti-Jewish. By comparison, Hitler's Mein Kampf was only 7%. Is that right, Boo?
What's up?
Mein Kampf was only 7% anti-Jewish?
Yeah, no, the rest of it wasn't attacking the current government order and complaining that they should get the site.
Yeah, I figured I'd just ask somebody who knows. Just in case somebody tries to argue with that in the video. You know how YouTubers are. Alright, and then I have a diagram here that says the growth of Islam. Gosh, okay. Okay, the growth of Islam from... I'm going to zoom in on that more. From the number of Muslims, 150, Muhammad begins preaching Islam. In the religion preaching in Mecca to the peaceful time, he had about 150 devout followers. And he did that for 13 years. And then he started to escalate into political jihad, Medina. And by the time he hit his peak, it was 100,000 devout Muslims. And that was 23 years of until Muhammad's death. And then we have a couple more things from the Quran referenced in here. Common misconceptions about Islam. I know this Muslim and he is a nice man. What does that prove about Islam? Remember, Islam has two faces, Mecca and Medina. Not all Muslims are terrorists. Violence is not the real Islam. The 9/11 attacks and the Boston Jihad and the London beheadings were all carried out by good Muslims. They were following the Quran they were following what the Quran had said to do. Surah 2, 216, 860, 9, 123. The Crusades were violent, yes. They were in response to 400 years of Islamic jihad which swept across Europe. The Crusades lasted about 200 years. Jihad continues today after over 1400 years. The Bible is violent, yes. The New Testament has 0 words of violence. Islamic doctrine has over 328,000 words of violence in it. Holy shit. How many ways can you fucking describe killing someone? Islam is being hijacked by extremists. No jihad has killed over 270 million people to date. There have been over 22,000 jihad attacks since 9/11. There are different kinds of Islam? No. There is only one Islam. That which is depicted in the Quran and Sunni. Sunni 23, 52 through 53. You are taking that violent verse out of context. No. There are many violent verses in the Quran and Sunni. And I guess that's just supposed to give you the breakdown. I would assume that's the final argument. to what is Islam. It kind of ended very abruptly. But yeah, so that is it's labeled the final Islam in a nutshell. If you want to look at the pamphlet at the counterjihadcoalition.org, they have that either email subscription that you can subscribe to. You can also donate, or if you'd like to be active within your own community in your own area to spread awareness to this and set up a little informational booth, they have on the right side of their website a instructive PDF to go ahead and tell you like what you would be doing and what's expected of you, as well as if you click on the brochure PDF in the navigation, I think it's the first option, you can either look at these directly through a web page or you can download them yourself like I did.